between Bayern Munich and PSG, and then the game ended 5-4 in favor of PSG. The return leg will be at the Allianz Arena in Germany, but yesterday was a record in Spain, it was a record in France, and then the return leg will also be a record in Munich when these two sides meet in the return leg of the UEFA Champions League. And for the first time in history, Bayern Munich 3 players have scored over 100 goals by their forward, by their 3 strikers, which is Harry Kane, Michel Olise, and then Luis Diaz. They have scored over 100 goals for Bayern when they could be looking at Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid this evening. A game between Mikel Arteta and then Diego Simeone. Will it be Arsenal's second time to be in the finals of the UEFA Champions League? The first one was in 2006 when the team was handled by Arsene Wenger, captained by Thierry Henry. This time, their legend, Mikel Arteta, is handling Arsenal, and then they will be playing the first leg tonight against Atletico Madrid in Spain. Atletico Madrid, they knocked out Barcelona in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. The first time they did that, they were in the finals in 2017-2018 season. Can they do it again tonight against Arsenal? We'll also be looking at Dominic Frimpong, who was buried today, the Aduana FC player who lost his life when they played the Ghana Premier League. On their way back home, Aaron Roberts attacked them and then he lost his life. Today, he was buried. We'll be looking at that. We'll be going via Zoom to speak to Josh Afari, who will be on Zoom to do some analysis on the UEFA Champions League between PSG and then Bayern Munich. And then tonight's encounter between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League. This and many more on Sports Center. I'll go for a quick turn. When I come back, we'll delve into the details.
Attention Ghana, attention Black Stars. The world is calling and history is about to be made. The 2026 FIFA World Cup to be hosted across Canada, Mexico, and the USA. The biggest celebration of football ever. This is your chance to be there live. Feel the roar of the crowd. Witness epic moments, goals and cheers as a proud Ghanaian on the global stage.
Now that's hooked forward. Here's a chase for Gian. He's 1-on-2. It is Gian. He's in the area. He scores! Ghana are back in front.
Ashton Travels and Tours, under the leadership of Honorable Alfred Okovandapoy, MP for Ablikuma South and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, brings you the ultimate 2026 World Cup experience. Your journey includes full visa facilitation, travel insurance, match day tickets, match transport to and from the stadium, guided city tours on non-match days, travel with the best. We don't just book trips, let's craft your World Cup story. Don't just watch from home, be part of the action. Book now, limited spots available. Call 0256 060 997 or 0256 060 998. You can also email us at astonwc26@gmail.com. Locate us at G104 Local Road, Osu. Aston Travels and Tours, your passport to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Get ready, the trophy awaits. One year, Yenko. This is accredited by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation.
We're justified, and it's our time.
At Medifend, there is a lot that we do that will make our patients very, very, very comfortable. Right from the entrance when you enter here, there's not alone that you need. Even if you have your sickness, everything vanishes. I would like to also introduce that we have antenatal class as part of our nursing education. We do about 4 modules. Inside the 4 modules, we have various topics under them. This class also is done every week. There is a link that is shared where we discuss issues about maternal health. We also talk about neonatal jaundice, where pregnancy-induced hypertension. It's a home that we want everyone to come and experience. So kindly make it a point to come and experience medicine, and you never forget. Remember that once you are not here, we are also not existing.
Attention Ghana, attention Black Stars. The world is calling and history is about to be made. 2026 FIFA World Cup to be hosted across Canada, Mexico, and the USA. The biggest celebration of football ever. This is your chance to be there live. Feel the roar of the crowd. Witness epic moments, goals, and cheers as a proud Ghanaian on the global stage.
Well, that's hooked forward. Here's a chase for Gian. He's 1-on-2. It is Gian. He's in the area. He scores! Ghana are back in front.
Ashton travels and tours under the leadership of Honorable Alfred Okovan-Dapoy, MP for Ablikuma South and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, brings you the ultimate 2026 World Cup experience. Your journey includes full visa facilitation, travel insurance, match day tickets, mass transport to and from the stadium, guided city tours on non-match days, travel with the best. We don't just book trips, let's craft your World Cup story. Don't just watch from home, be part of the action. Book now, limited spots available. Call 0256 060 997 or 0256 060 998. You can also email us at astonwc26@gmail.com. Locate us at G104 Local Road, Osu. Ashton Travels and Tours, your passports to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Get ready, the trophy awaits. Wanya, Yenko. This is accredited by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation.
We're justified, and it's our time.
At Medifem, there is a lot that we do that we make our patients very, very, very comfortable. Right from the entrance when you enter here, there's not alone that you need. Even if you have your sickness, everything vanishes. I would like to also introduce that we have antenatal class as part of our nursing education. We do about 4 modules. Inside the 4 modules, we have various topics under them. This class also is done every week. There is a link that is shared where we discuss issues about maternal health. We also talk about neonatal jaundice, where pregnancy-induced hypertension. It's a home that we want everyone to come and experience. So kindly make it a point to come and experience medicine, and you never forget. Remember that once you are not here, we are also not existing.
Attention Ghana, attention Black Stars. The world is calling and history is about to be made. 2026 FIFA World Cup to be hosted across Canada, Mexico, and the USA. The biggest celebration of football ever. This is your chance to be there live. Feel the roar of the crowd. Witness epic moments, goals, and cheers as a proud Ghanaian on the global stage.
Well, that's hooked forward. Here's a chase for Gian. He's 1-on-2. It is Gian. He's in the area. He scores! Ghana are back in front.
Ashton travels and tours under the leadership of Honorable Alfred Okovan-Dapoy, MP for Ablikuma South and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, brings you the ultimate 2026 World Cup experience. Your journey includes full visa facilitation, travel insurance, match day tickets, mass transport to and from the stadium, guided city tours on non-match days, travel with the best. We don't just book trips, let's craft your World Cup story. Don't just watch from home, be part of the action. Book now, limited spots available. Call 0256 060 997 or 0256 060 998. You can also email us at astonwc26@gmail.com. Locate us at G104 Local Road, Osu. Ashton Travels and Tours, your passports to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Get ready, the trophy awaits. Wanya, Yenko. This is accredited by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation.
We're justified, and it's our time.
Back from that break, it's still Sports Center right here on Adwa Television. Tonight we'll be looking at some stats that happened yesterday in the first leg of the semi-finals between Bayern Munich and then PSG in France. These are some of the stats, and that will be placed on your screen tonight. You have history in Paris and in Munich, a night of records, goals and kills in the first leg of the Champions League. And for the first time in history, you have three Bayern Munich players scoring over 100 goals for their club. That is Harry Kane, Michel Olise, and then Luis Diaz. They have scored over 100 goals for their club, and then each of them has scored 10 plus goals this season in the UEFA Champions League for their club. And then we have the most chaos match in the UEFA Champions League that happened yesterday. That is the scoreline between PSG and Bayern, 5-4 on the score sheet, the highest scoring semi-final match in the UEFA Champions League history. It has never happened before in the Champions League. 9 goals in the first leg of a UEFA Champions League, and it happened yesterday between PSG and Bayern Munich. The first time 9 goals has been scored in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League. So this is the start that happened yesterday in France between these two sides. We'll move on to the net statistics that happened yesterday. A night of records, goals, and then chaos. We have the most goal involvement in a single Champions League campaign for PSG. We have Kvaratskhelia, who has scored 15 goals. That is this season, 2025-2026 season. He has scored 15 goals for PSG in the UEFA Champions League. And then Ousmane Dembele, last season, he scored 14 goals for PSG in the UEFA Champions League. So Kvaratskhelia have broken the record of Ousmane Dembele that is set the 2024-2025 season. And then Ousmane Dembele is the second PSG player to both score and assist in the UEFA Champions League semi-final after Angel Di Maria in August 2020 for RB Leipzig. Di Maria was playing for Real Madrid then when he made that record, and then that record has been broken by Ousmane Dembele yesterday when he scored and then assisted the same time for his side PSG when they won 5-4 against Bayern Munich in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League. We'll move on to the next one. Well, Ousmane Dembele is the current Ballon d'Or winner. He won it last year, and this year he's hoping to win it again. I think after Thierry Henry and then Zinedine Zidane, he is the next French player to win the Ballon d'Or for PSG and then for France national team. So we have Harry Kane is the first ever English player to score in 6 consecutive Champions League games. He did it against USG in the home game in Allianz Arena. He also did it against PSV, an away game in the UEFA Champions League. All this record happened the group phase of the UEFA Champions League. He also scored against Atlanta, the semi-final Atlanta in the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League. He also scored against Real Madrid away in the first leg quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. And then at home again, he scored against Real Madrid. And then yesterday, he assisted against PSG away in France. So that is the record of Harry Kane in the UEFA Champions League. And he has also broken Steven Gerrard's record that is set in 2008. So this is Harry Kane for Bayern Munich, the first English player to score in 6 consecutive Champions League games versus USG versus PSV, Atlanta, Real Madrid home and away, and then versus PSG yesterday. So Harry Kane have broken the record of Steven Gerrard that is set back in 2008 when Gerrard was playing for Liverpool back then. We'll move on to the next statistics or the next slide. So Vitinha has featured in all 52 of PSG's Champions League matches since his move in the summer of 2022, making him the player with the most appearances in the competition since the 2022-2023 season, and most appearances by Brazilian players in European Cup or Champions League history is between Roberto Carlos. He played for Real Madrid, and then Marquinhos. He's now the captain of PSG. He has equaled the record of Roberto Carlos in the UEFA Champions League. So 2 Brazilians have made 120 appearances in European competition. So another record equaled by Marquinhos in the UEFA Champions League. And then Vitina played for Wolves in the Premier League. He was not the best of player for Wolves. Then he moved from Wolves to PSG, and he has ever since become a better player for PSG. Per interviews, he said that the nature of the Premier League was too hectic for him. Looking at the pace of the Premier League, he wasn't able to cope with the pace of the Premier League. But since he moved from the Premier League to the French League One for PSG, he has become a better player for PSG and for himself. He's the deputy captain for Portugal heading to the World Cup in America, US, and Mexico. He will be in a group against Morocco, so he'll be playing against his own teammate Ashraf Hakimi, who plays for Morocco. He's also the captain of Moroccan national team. So this is the record of Roberto Carlos and Marquinhos, and then Vitina in the UEFA Champions League history. Move on to the next one. So we have three Bayern Munich players have all hit 10 plus goals contribution in a single Champions League season for the first time ever. It has never happened. Three players scoring or assisting over 10 goals in the Champions League history, and this record has been done by Harry Kane, Olise, and Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz moved from Liverpool in the summer to Bayern Munich, and then Olise also moved from Crystal Palace in the Premier League to Bayern Munich, and then Harry Kane also moved from Tottenham Hotspur to Bayern Munich, I think 2 seasons ago when he was playing for Tottenham Hotspur in the English Premier League. So this is the record of these three Bayern Munich attackers. I mean, they are having the best of seasons in the Bundesliga and then also in the UEFA Champions League. So Luis Diaz has scored 7 goals and assisted, and then Harry Kane has also scored 13 goals and assisted 2 in the UEFA Champions League. And then Michel Olise has scored 5 goals and assisted 6 in the UEFA Champions League. For me, I'm gunning for Michel Olise to win the Ballon d'Or season because he has had an incredible season for Bayern Munich. He has scored and assisted in most of the games that he has played in the Bundesliga. And in the UEFA Champions League, he has also scored against Atlanta, also scored against Real Madrid. He's having the best of seasons for Bayern Munich. And heading towards the World Cup, he'll be playing for France. We don't know where their coach will be deploying him because Ousmane Dembele is also in the squad, Kylian Mbappe is in the squad, Marcus Thuram is in the squad. So we don't know where their coach Didier Deschamps will be deploying him in the squad, whether he'll be playing from the right or from the left, or he'll be playing as a number 10 for the French national team. We hope to see where he'll be playing for France in the World Cup. So this is the start of these three Bayern Munich players in the UEFA Champions League. They're having the best of season under Vincent Kompany, who also moved from Burnley in the Premier League to become the coach of Bayern Munich in the summer of 2022-2023. So these are the records in the UEFA Champions League that happened yesterday night. We're also moving to the next one. And then Michel Olise again is in the news. He is the only player in Europe's top 5 leagues with 20 plus goals and 20 plus assists across all competition this season. Yes, he is my Ballon d'Or at the moment. If he wins the UEFA Champions League and also goes to the semi-finals or the finals of the World Cup, I think he will win the Ballon d'Or, the best player this season. He's having a wonderful season in Bayern Munich. So he has scored 20 plus goals and assisted 20 plus across all competition this season. 20 goals, 25 assists this season for Bayern Munich. So in total, he has 45 goals and assists in the 2025-2026 competitions for Bayern Munich. He moved from Crystal Palace. Remember, Chelsea were also interested in him when he was at Crystal Palace. Manchester United were also interested in him when he was playing for Crystal Palace. Then Jordan Ayew was his teammate, but he moved from the Premier League to the German Bundesliga, and he has made the right decision for himself, looking at the incredible numbers that he has this season. So this is the start for Michel Olise in all competition this season for Bayern Munich. We'll move on to the next one. So history in Paris and in Munich, a night of records, chaos, and goals. So another one for the three Bundesliga players. Tonight was the first time in European semi-final that both teams scored 4 goals, and just the second UEFA Champions League knockout stage match after Chelsea 4-4 versus Liverpool in the 2008-2009 quarterfinal. I remember this game very well. I watched it, a game that happened at Anfield, Chelsea versus Liverpool in the 2008-2009 competition. Then it was Adebayo, Arshavin, Theo Walcott, you have Thomas Rosicky, Cesc Fabregas, I think Juru was the centre back for Arsenal. And in Liverpool, we had Fernando Torres, Steven Gerrard, Xabi Alonso, John Anerese was also in the squad. Abelua was also in the squad. Pepe Reina was the goalkeeper for Liverpool. So it was an incredible night in the 2008-2009 quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. The game ended 4-4, and then Arshavin scored 4 goals for Arsenal in that particular game. The Russian international who joined Arsenal from CSK Moscow in that season. He scored 4 goals for Arsenal in that particular game. So yesterday night, Bayern Munich and PSG also equaled that record in the UEFA Champions League. So the return leg will be a juicy one in German Allianz Arena. And then Vincent Kompany says that the 72,000 capacity stadium must be filled by Bayern Munich fans if they want to qualify to the finals of the UEFA Champions League. So if they want to win the Champions League, I think the last time they were in the 2010 finals against Inter Milan when Jose Mourinho was handling Inter Milan. By then they lost by 2-0 to Inter Milan, and goal scored by Milito. Samuel Eto'o was also part of that squad. Sule Muntari was also part of that squad when they lost to Inter Milan by 2-0 in the finals of the UEFA Champions League. And they also lost to Chelsea 2012 in the final. Goal scored by Didier Drogba in the dying minute of the game, and then the game went to penalties, and then Chelsea won on penalties. And the last 2 finals for Bayern Munich have ended in a defeat for the German side. So this time around, they are hoping to win the UEFA Champions League. They have won the UEFA Champions League 5 times. They're hoping to win it for the 6th time in their history. Can they do it? Tonight, Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid. Whoever wins that game will be playing against PSG or Bayern Munich in the finals of the 2006 UEFA Champions League. So these are the history that happened yesterday night in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League between PSG and then Bayern Munich. We hope to see more records tonight, because remember when Diego Simeone, whenever he knocks out Barcelona in the Champions League, it goes to the final. Can they do it again, because they knock out Barcelona in the quarterfinals? Can they do it against Arsenal to go into the final? Or maybe it will be Arsenal's second time to be in the finals of the UEFA Champions League. The first time they did it was back in 2006 under Arsene Wenger, captained by Thierry Henry. They went to the final and then lost by 2-1 to Barcelona. Goal scored by Belletti. The final goal, or the winning goal, was scored by Belletti in that game. So this is another star that happened under the MSN, Luis Suarez, Neymar, and then Messi. These 3 players were incredible for Barcelona. So these 3 players scored over 131 goals during their time in the 2015-2016 season for Barcelona. Messi, Neymar, Luis Suarez, they scored 131 goals for Barcelona in the 2015-2016 season. And then the 2014-2015, they also scored 122 goals for Barcelona. Messi scored 58 goals, Neymar scored 39 goals, and then Luis Suarez scored 25 goals, making 122 goals for Barcelona in the 2014-2015 season. So 3 players alone scored 122 goals for Barcelona. And then the 2016-2017 season, the same again, Messi, Luis Suarez, and then Neymar combined and scored 111 goals in that season. Messi scoring 54, Suarez scoring 37, and then Neymar scoring 20 goals for Barcelona in that particular season. So all these 3 players managed to score 111 goals for Barcelona. And then come the BBC, Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, and then Gareth Bale also combining to score 100 goals for Real Madrid in the 2014-2015 season. So in that particular season, the MSN scored 122 goals, and then the BBC scored 100 goals. So they did better. They scored 22 goals ahead of Real Madrid in that particular season. That season, Barcelona won the Spanish La Liga, and they were also in the finals of the Champions League when they beat Juventus by 3-1 in the final. So these are some of the stats in the UEFA Champions League. And then finally, yesterday, Harry Kane, Luis Diaz, and then Michel Olise also scored, combining to score 100 goals for Bayern Munich in the 2025-2026 season. Harry Kane has scored 54 goals this season. Luis Diaz has scored 26 goals, and then Michel Olise has scored 20 goals. And the season has not ended yet, so they have 3 more games to play in the German Bundesliga. So if they are able to score, they add up to the tally, the 100 goals that they have scored. And then Harry Kane is also gunning to win the Ballon d'Or this season. Harry Kane is there, Kylian Mbappe is there, Lamine Yamal is there, Michel Olise is also there. So these players are gunning to win the best player for the 2026 season. So who will come on top? The Champions League and then the World Cup will decide who will win the Ballon d'Or this season. So these are some of the stats that happen in the UEFA Champions League, the Bundesliga, and then the Spanish La Liga for these clubs: Barcelona, Real Madrid, and then Bayern Munich. So these are players who have scored over 100 goals for their clubs in the particular season. So these are the stats that happen in the UEFA Champions League and then the Spanish La Liga. If there is any records more that we can look at it. Other than that, we'll move to Zoom to speak to Josh Afari. He is on standby. We'll be doing some discussions on yesterday's game. People are saying that, well, the defense of both teams were porous, but I disagree, because when you look at the attack was elite. Looking at the forward lines of Bayern Munich and then PSG, these are players who are technically good. The desire to they are finishing their end product to their game excellent. So you cannot blame the defenders much for the goals that were considered yesterday, because of the attack that both teams brought to the game yesterday. So all right, after this, we'll move on to Zoom. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Josh Afaro will be joining us via Zoom. We'll do some discussions on yesterday's game and then tonight's game between Atletico Madrid and then Arsenal in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League.
At Medifend, there is a lot that we do that we make our patients very, very, very comfortable. Right from the entrance, when you enter here, there's not a loan that you need. Even if you have your sickness, everything vanishes. I would like to also introduce that we have antenatal class as part of our nursing education. We do about 4 modules. Inside the 4 modules, we have various topics under them. This class also is done every week. There is a link that is shared where we discuss issues about maternal health. We also talk about neonatal jaundice, pregnancy-induced hypertension. It's a whole that we want everyone to come and experience. So kindly make it a point to come and experience Medifend, and you never forget. Remember that once you are not here, we are also not existing.
Attention Ghana, attention Black Stars. The world is calling and history is about to be made. 2026 FIFA World Cup to be hosted across Canada, Mexico, and the USA. The biggest celebration of football ever. This is your chance to be there live. Feel the roar of the crowd. Witness epic moments, goals, and cheers as a proud Ghanaian on the global stage.
Well, that's hooked forward. Here's a chase for Gian. He's 1-on-2. It is Gian. He's in the area. He scores! Ghana are back in front.
Ashton travels and tours under the leadership of Honorable Alfred Okovan-Dapoy, MP for Ablikuma South and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, brings you the ultimate 2026 World Cup experience. Your journey includes full visa facilitation, travel insurance, match day tickets, mass transport to and from the stadium, guided city tours on non-match days, travel with the best. We don't just book trips, let's craft your World Cup story. Don't just watch from home, be part of the action. Book now, limited spots available. Call 0256 060 997 or 0256 060 998. You can also email us at astonwc26@gmail.com. Locate us at G104 Local Road, Osu. Aston Travels and Tours, your passport to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Get ready, the trophy awaits. Wanya Yenko. This is accredited by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation.
We're justified, and it's our time.
At Medifend, there is a lot that we do that we make our patients very, very, very comfortable. Right from the entrance when you enter here, there's not alone that you need. Even if you have your sickness, everything vanishes. I would like to also introduce that we have antenatal class as part of our nursing education. We do about 4 models. Inside the 4 models, we have various topics under them. This class also is done every week. There's a link that is shared where we discuss issues about maternal health. We also talk about neonatal jaundice, where pregnancy-induced hypertension. It's a whole that we want everyone to come and experience. So kindly make it a point to come and experience medicine, and you never forget. Remember that once you are not here, we are also not existing.
Attention Ghana, attention Black Stars. The world is calling and history is about to be made. 2026 FIFA World Cup to be hosted across Canada, Mexico, and the USA. The biggest celebration of football ever. This is your chance to be there live. Feel the roar of the crowd. Witness epic moments, goals, and cheers as a proud Ghanaian on the global stage.
Well, that's hooked forward. Here's a chase for Gian. He's 1-on-2. It is Gian. He's in the area. He scores! Ghana are back in front.
Ashton travels and tours under the leadership of Honorable Alfred Okovandapoy, MP for Ablikuma South and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, brings you the ultimate 2026 World Cup experience. Your journey includes full visa facilitation, travel insurance, match day tickets, match transport to and from the stadium, guided city tours on non-match days, travel with the best. We don't just book trips, let's cry.
Welcome back from that break. It's still Sports Center right here on Other Television. Tonight we'll be speaking to Josh Afari, who is a sports analyst or a sports pundit. We'll be discussing the yesterday's game between PSG and Bayern Munich. The game ended 5-4 in France, and I mean yesterday's football was explicit. One to watch, one to love. If you're a football fan, yesterday you applaud both teams for the kind of game they displayed yesterday. And people are criticizing their defense, but I think we should enjoy the game rather than criticizing what the defenders did yesterday, because yesterday's attack was elite. One that, I think the time of Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Del Piero, Van Nistelrooy, these were strikers who gave us goals, elite attack. And ever since they retired or left the scene, we are yet to witness some of the great attacks that you have seen over the years. But yesterday, Ousmane Dembele, Harry Kane, and then the likes brought that spark back. So I think we should commend them for the kind of display they did yesterday. And over the Zoom, we have Josh Afari, who has joined us. We'll be discussing the statistics and then the tactics that both coaches displayed yesterday. Josh, welcome.
Well, thank you, Ike.
Yeah, I believe yesterday you enjoyed every bit of game that Bayern Munich and PSG played.
Yesterday's game was elite peak Champions League football. If you missed yesterday's game, then you missed a lot. I think yesterday it told a lot of teams, it showed a lot of teams the level they have to get to in order to compete against this kind of teams. Because if you saw the amount of talent on display, you saw the amount of quality being displayed all over the pitch, from goalkeeping all the way to the front of the attack. You saw where brilliance over brilliance. We are looking at Kvaratskhelia against Michael Olise, Serge Gnabry against Desiree Doué, it's Harry Kane against Ousmane Dembele. In the middle of the pitch, it's Pavlovic against Vitinha, it's João Neves against Joshua Kimmich. So there were battles to be won, individual battles to be won all over the pitch, and it was a masterful game yesterday. It was actually an enjoyable game yesterday.
But talking about wingers, before we come to the game itself, I would love us to discuss wingers, because people are calling Rashford a winger, Garnacho, Pedro Neto, Ahmad, You can mention them: Saka, Martinelli, Madueke. Looking at these players and what we saw yesterday, how will you classify the players that I mentioned? Are they still wingers per what we saw yesterday?
Yesterday, right after the game, I hopped onto X. And when I got there, the first Chelsea comment that I saw was that from watching this game, I now remember, I now understand that I don't hate Pedro Neto and Alejandro Garnacho very much. And I said, Chelsea fans, like, come on. So you see, like I was saying, if you look at the level of display, the level of quality being displayed by these players, if you compare it to the wingers in your team or in your club, you can tell the level of your club, because these players, and it's not like they are just performing for the club side. When they go, when they don't their national team basis, these are all internationals. They play for the big international teams. Check the world rankings. The first 20 teams or the first 20 national teams in the world rankings have their players all glittered around the pitch yesterday. And it was brilliant. And so these players you mentioned, the Maduekes, the Garnachos, the Amads, the Cody Gakpos, and the rest, I think they have a lot of job to do, because if you look at the kind of football Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, Dembele, and Luis Diaz and the likes are playing at that level, Michael Olise and the likes are playing at that level, I think there is a huge gap between the two of them, and then those kind of players have a lot of work to put in to get to that level.
But yesterday, after the game, I was listening to Clarence Seedorf, former AC Milan player, and I was saying that although they played a very good and exciting game, both teams were not balanced in terms of defense. You could say that the goals they considered were very cheap goals. In my saying, they were cheap goals that like both teams could have avoided. Would you side with him that although they have quality in their team, their team is not balanced? Looking at what the defenders displayed yesterday.
Okay, so if you look at both teams, Bayern Munich, you could tell that the team is being carried by the attack. That one is clearly very visible, right? But yesterday, what we saw yesterday was a clear dominance of two superpower attacking teams. And so they made the defense look inferior. But trust you me, the defense on display yesterday were not any mere defense. Bayern Munich centre-back pairing is Dayot Upamecano and Jonathan Tah. That's Germany and France's starting centre-backs. So these are no mere country centre-backs. If you look at PSG's centre-back pairing, it's made up of William Pacho and then Marquinhos. This is Brazil and Ecuador's centre-back pairing starting lineup. So these are no mere centre-backs. It's not like they were just mere centre-backs, any kind of centre-backs being displayed here. And if you look at PSG's laterals in Hakimi and then Nuno Mendes, these guys are going to be the best, arguably the best right and left back in the world football right now. So if you look at this quality and you tell me that their team is not balanced, I think the attack made the defense look futile. That's what will make you say that, because if you look at the kind of attack being displayed, like I said, PSG have this fluid front three where Ousmane Dembele is being deployed as a number 9, that he's floating all over the pitch, and there are a lot of interchanges between Desiree Doué and then Kvaratskhelia on both flanks. And then Bayern Munich have this solid game plan where Harry Kane is always dropping in deep, picking the ball, switching the pass to the flanks to Michael Olise or Luis Diaz, and making that late run into the box. You look at this super attack. I don't think there's any club in the world at the moment that can compare the attacks to these two teams. And these are the two highest scoring teams in the Champions League this season. So they gave us goals yesterday, and I think it was just due that when these two teams meet, it is just goals all over the pitch.
But will you say that when PSG were leading by 5-2, maybe Luis Enrique could have told his men to defend their goals rather than continue to attack? Because leading by 5-2, there was no way Bayern Munich were going to beat them by 4-0 at the Allianz Arena. So maybe it was time for Luis Enrique to change his tactics to consolidate the league, defend, and take the advantage to Allianz Arena in Germany.
Well, there is this football philosophical term that says that the best form of defense is what? Is attack. So if you want to defend, then you attack, because when you have the ball, the opposition has no right to hit you because you have control of the ball. And I think that is one of the philosophies Luis Enrique deploys. He feels like when the game was 5-2, you could clearly tell that PSG had the momentum. And so they wanted to go for the kill. They wanted to get the 6th goal, get the 7th goal, and then kill Bayern Munich's spirit. But that comeback goal by Upamecano sparked that comeback for Bayern Munich. And I think that sets up the clash for the second leg at the Allianz Arena next week. But if you look at Luis Enrique's team has never been a defensive team. It's always been this expansive, quick passes, quick transition team. And so if you tell him to change his identity, he will end up changing and transforming his team into something he doesn't know how to coach. So I think he played it safe that we were leading. we had the momentum. Why don't we just go on for the kill? Just bringing on. You see that you even could tell from the substitutions he made, where he brought on Semi Mayulu and Lucas Hernandez to take off the tiring moment. So you could tell that he was clearly sticking to the game plans, clearly sticking to the personnel and the way of coaching he knew, so that he just go for the kill, get the sixth goal, get the seventh goal, and then kill the tie at the Park the Prince. But it didn't work out for him, and I think the next leg at the Allianz Arena next week is going to be a blockbuster, because Vincent Kompany's words after the game, he watched the game from the stands, and his words were that we are going to give it all on the pitch, even if we have to die, we are going to die on the pitch. So next week, it's an all-attack game we are going to watch again, and probably if we get another 5-4, hallelujah, that's our prayer.
But when you look at this Bayern Munich team, Vincent Kompany was not on the touchline. He's been suspended. Do you think that him being on the touchline could have given Bayern Munich more advantage in the first leg?
You see, if you watch football at this highest level, coaching counts. Let's not the coaching counts a lot. And having your manager, seeing your manager on the touchline also speaks a lot. So I think here, Bayern Munich lost a bit of spark without having Vincent Kompany on the bench yesterday for the game. And I think if you look at that, kudos to the Bayern Munich players, because Adrian Brandt, who was on the bench for them yesterday, is very, very inexperienced when it comes to these big stages or this bright light on this Champions League night. And so he did very well, but the players also took on to themselves that, look, we're not going to be disgraced by this PSG team. And then even when they went down by 5-2, they clawed back, got 2 goals. And I think, Paris Saint-Germain should be careful, because they're not going to face this same Bayern Munich team, or it's not going to be the same Bayern Munich team, because there's going to be something extra with Vincent Kompany returning to the touchline for the next leg. I think they lost something. They lost a bit of stature from him, because in their normal European games, when a coach is in the stands, the coach is allowed to communicate to the bench with telephones and then other forms of communication devices. But in UEFA competitions, it is not allowed. So yesterday, all what Vincent Kompany could do was that he could listen to what the bench was saying, but there was no way he could pass on information from the stands to the bench. So in the game, even if he had any tactical tweaks he wanted to make, he couldn't do it. And that is the UEFA rules. So yesterday, he couldn't communicate that to the bench. And so they missed some spark. And I think that in the second leg, he's going to make some adjustments and 1 or 2 things here, and he's going to set up for very brilliant time at the Allianz Arena.
People are saying that this is Arsenal's time to win it, because these two teams, Bayern Munich and PSG, can defend. And when you look at how Arsenal defend, there's no way you can put 4 goals or 5 goals at the back of Arsenal, at the back of the net for Arsenal. So maybe if Arsenal score against PSG or Bayern Munich, they can defend that lead. Do you believe in that? That if Arsenal qualify to the final and they meet either Bayern Munich or PSG, and they are leading by 2-0 or 3-0, there's no way Bayern or PSG can come back and beat Arsenal in the final. Do you believe Arsenal can defend their lead?
If Arsenal's mindset against either of these teams is to go and score and go and defend, they will lose. That is the truth of the matter. Arsenal have been very, very fortunate with the draw. Yeah, Arsenal have been very, very fortunate with the draw. Because if you look at the left side of the draw, where you have Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Liverpool, all these teams club at one side of the draw. And then on the flip side, there is Sporting, there is Barcelona, there is Tottenham, there is Bodo Glimt, and then there is Arsenal. Look at these two sides of the draw. You could tell that favorably, Arsenal's side of the draw was very favorable. And the kind of teams they are meeting relative to the other side of the draw, it's easy for them. So, but I think we can all attest to the fact that when either team, either Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain makes the final, automatically they are the favorites for the final. No, notwithstanding anything that comes on the other side of the draw. That is either Arsenal or Atletico Madrid. And if that team goes into the game with the mindset of getting 1 goal and going to defend, Paris Saint-Germain or Bayern Munich is going to demolish that team. And I think if Arsenal have any chance of going, they should just go toe-to-toe, because when they met in the group stage or the league phase, Arsenal beat Bayern Munich. Some are saying that it's not the same Bayern Munich team, but they beat them when they actually opened up the game and played a toe-to-toe game with them. So I think if they approach or they adopt the same approach, finals are won in 90 minutes. They are played, it's a one-off game. Anything can happen. Similar to the Club World Cup final, where PSG were the ultimate favorites going into the game, but Chelsea had their day on that day, punished PSG by 3-0, and then now they are world champions for the next 4 years. So I think if Arsenal makes it to the final and they are facing either Paris Saint-Germain or Bayern Munich, the best thing they can do is just go toe-to-toe with them, defend when they need to defend, win their individual battles, and then try and score as many goals as they can. But if they adopt the defensive approach where let's get 1 goal and then pack the bus, I think it's going to be suicidal for them.
But looking at these two teams, what do you think PSG should do, or Bayern Munich, these two teams, what do you think one of these two teams should do to qualify to the finals of the UEFA Champions? Should PSG manage to defend their lead a little bit? We know Bayern Munich will come attacking since it's their home ground, and Vincent Kompany loves attacking football. But for PSG, heading to Germany, what do you think they should do? Maybe defend better or play the same expansive football?
Okay, I think Luis Enrique cannot adopt the same approach he adopted for yesterday's game or last night's game, because the news coming out of France is that Hakimi is going to miss the second leg.
Yeah.
Due to a hamstring injury. He could have something during the later stages of the game yesterday night. So he's going to miss the second leg, which throws everything in tantrums for them, because he's a key part of the way they defend. And if you look at Kvaratskhelia second goal he scored, where Hakimi was bumping down the right wing, putting across, and then both Dembele and Desiree Doué all jumped over the ball for Kvaratskhelia to just slotting the ball into the net. That is a typical Hakimi's contribution to the attack. And so they are going to miss that, no matter who they deploy on the right on that day. And so they are going to have to make some tactical tweaks. But like I said, Luis Enrique only knows how to coach one style of football, and that is quick transition, quick passes, possession-dominated football. He doesn't know how to defend. And so there's no way he's going to deploy a defensive system at the Allianz Arena. But I think he's also not going to go ultra attacking that day. What Company, on the other hand, can do to ensure that Bayern Munich overturn the 5-4 deficit is that on the day, they have to make sure that they are scoring the first goal on the night. Because if Paris Saint-Germain were to score the first goal in that second leg, I think there's no way Bayern Munich is coming back. No matter how many goals they score, I think PSG will outscore them. But if they score the first goal on the night to equal the tie, then I think the pressure now rose, or that momentum now rose on their side, and the pressure is rolled on to Paris Saint-Germain, who will now have to also open up and play ultra attacking football to score. And that's what's going to set up for a brilliant tie. And I think chaos at the Allianz Arena will favor Bayern Munich more as compared to Paris Saint-Germain. That's what will get Bayern Munich into the final.
Who goes through? Bayern Munich or PSG?
My heart wants Bayern Munich to go through, but my head is telling me that PSG might make it.
Wow.
I feel Luis Enrique has that little touch, that extra touch needed. I feel it might end up in a 5-5 aggregate scoreline, or even a 6-6 aggregate scoreline, and then PSG probably makes it in either extra time or in the penalties. But ideally, my heart would want Bayern Munich to win it, and then Harry Kane probably being crowned the Ballon d'Or for the 2025-2026 season.
Wow, so that is bold prediction from me. But let's look at tonight's game between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. I mean, it's still goalless, but yesterday we were seeing goals here and there in the first half of the Champions League. But you know, this is two sides who love to defend, and we are yet to see a goal in the first leg between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. But when you look at these two teams, looking at where Arsenal is coming from, when you look at where Atletico Madrid is coming from, who do you think has the edge over the other?
I think psychologically, Atletico Madrid has the edge, right? But Arsenal also have a point to prove. Arsenal were earmarked to win a quadruple, and now are on the brink of going trophyless. They've lost the Carabao, lost the FA Cup. Now they are trailing Manchester City. Only as much as they are leading the league with 3 points, but Man City has a game deficit. When they win that game, they go back at top. So they are trailing Man City in goal difference in the league, and then there's this Champions League where there are two monsters in Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain, one to be faced in the final. So Arsenal have a point to prove if they really want to make it there. Last season, it was bad as Paris Saint-Germain super team. Arsenal would have made it to the final. And they were also eliminated in the semi-final. So I think psychologically, if you look at the game between Atletico de Madrid and Barcelona in the quarter-final, that game, the way Atletico Madrid came out of the game, I think psychologically, it gives them the advantage. And Diego Simeone, come on. Diego Simeone has a point to prove now. Because if he lost the La Liga, he's not in the race for the La Liga. He went to the final of the Copa del Rey and lost to Real Sociedad in that final. So this is the only trophy available for him as well. And being beaten multiple times in the final, I think this is where you make a point in the final. So both managers have a point to prove. Both of them are facing a trophyless season in the face. And I think if you look at on paper, I would say that Atletico Madrid has the edge, advantage and then psychologically wise. But if you look at player for player and then proving a point, I think Arsenal will have a bit of point to prove, and then there's some bit of arrogance about the way they carry themselves. And only their key players who carry them through into the final.
But listen to this stat. The SG or the expected goals between these two sides. Atletico Madrid has 0.18 SG, and then Arsenal has 0.36 SG. So we are not going to see any goals between these two sides
We
because the
we
SG.
might have to separate them to penalties. Like someone yesterday after yesterday's game ended, someone was like, what punishment is UEFA giving us after watching this game only to go and sit down and sleep 24 hours and come and watch around football versus around football? Arsenal and Atletico Madrid, no one wants the ball, no one wants to score. Just both teams who are interested in defending. So who attacks and who defends? And that's what we are displaying because both of them have even a 0.5, an XG of less than 0.5. That's telling you the kind of game they are playing. So
and then shot on target is only one for Atletico Madrid. Only one shot on target throughout the game.
As at the 40th minute of the game.
Yes.
40th minute of the game, there's only just one shot on target. So that should tell you a lot about these two teams. Yeah.
But when you look at Arsenal's season, they all think we should blame the manager. Looking at how the season is ending for Arsenal, we all thought that maybe this is the time for Arsenal to win even not the quadruple, but the treble, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and then the UEFA Champions League. But it seems like they are only now in the league and then the UEFA Champions League. But you cannot say totally because if Manchester City is chasing you, you are in trouble. And if you are in the Champions League with PSG and Bayern Munich, you are also in trouble. How will you assess Arsenal season and who will you blame for how the team has come so far?
Okay, so I think Arsenal season can be viewed from two lenses, right? The first lens is from the Arteta lens, where I think Arteta identified last season that the quality of gap in the starting lineup and those at the bench was very, very huge. And so he decided to bridge that gap coming into the season. Because he noticed that when you have the first 11, Arsenal had a very solid first 11. But aside the first 11, if anybody comes out, the person filling in the gap is a step below the first 11 player. And so that is one problem Arteta decided to solve. But what I feel in my opinion that he got wrong was that when the team peaked, he was supposed to prioritize certain competitions and go all out for those competitions. But he wanted to defend and he wanted to go out on all fronts. And I think that is what is losing them all those trophies now, come the end of the season. Because they were going all out in the FA Cup, going all out in the League Cup, going all out in the Champions League, and then all out in the Premier League. And you can't do that. You can't sustain that over the course of the season unless you are a super team. And unfortunately for them, their key players have not stepped up enough. Their key players have not stepped up enough for them this season. In the likes of Martin Odegaard, because of injury, has been consistently inconsistent this season. Bukayo Saka has also been riddled with injuries. So this season, he's not been himself. And you can attest to the fact that Noni Madueke is even starting their semi-final first leg. That should tell you a lot about Bukayo Saka's season this season. Victor Gyökeres, yes, has 17 goals in the Premier League this season, but it's still not clear. It's still not been that stellar season that we saw him banging goals left, right, center in Sporting Lisbon. And then Gabriel Martinelli, the least said the better, he's also been inconsistent all over the season. So your key players are not helping Arteta. And the players that were supposed to actually back up have now intended becoming the main men in the team. And they've not lived up to that billing. The second lens, like I said, will have to be the key players. Look, the big boys earn their wages, earn their backs in this moment. When Pep Guardiola wants to win the league and he's struggling out of practice, that is when you see an Ike Gundogan popping up with some odd goals here and there. That is where you would have seen Raheem Sterling scoring in 7 consecutive games. That's when you see Rodri popping up with some late winners here and there. That is when the key players pop up. But if you look at Arsenal's team have a relatively young squad, but certain key players in them. Their defensive centre part of Gabriel Magalhaes and then William Saliba has been very consistent for them. I think their best player this season has been their goalkeeper, David Raya. This season he's been super consistent for them. But bar that, Martin Zubimendi has had an inconsistent season for them. When we all thought that when Thomas Partey was leaving and Zubimendi was coming in, he was coming to bring in that stability, the control they wanted, so that Declan Rice could be pumping up the field. But Declan Rice has also had an inconsistent season for them. Good for them. Victor Gyökeres has just put them giving them the lead in their tie against Atletico Madrid from the penalty spot. So that is good news for them. But I still think Atletico Madrid holds the edge in that game. But I think all in all, Arsenal's season or Arsenal's failure this season could be partly blamed on Mikel Arteta for not prioritizing certain competitions, and then also from the big players also not giving their all to make sure that the season or the team won certain trophies this season. Yeah.
Okay. So, Josh, we would like to thank you very much for speaking to us this evening, and I hope that tonight we'll have a better game than what you watched yesterday. Because Arsenal and then Atletico Madrid. I mean, it should be a good game, but looking at the SG is telling us a different story. So, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We'll come your way again, God willing, next week. We'll be looking at the second leg of the UEFA Champions League, and then I hope you'll be available to join us again via Zoom. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
All right, thank you too.
So that's Josh Afari, who joined us via Zoom to do some analysis on the UEFA Champions League between PSG and then Bayern Munich, and then tonight's game between Atletico Madrid and then Arsenal. This is how time will permit us. We'll come your way again, God willing, next week, because Friday is a holiday. We'll come your way again, God willing, next week with the second leg of the UEFA Champions League. My name is Isaac Mortey, and then I'm out.